You're all set.
Yep. All right. Thanks for coming, Jeff. We'll, of course, we don't have a quorum tonight, but we have a demolition delay request. We have Brian Jasper with us tonight. He's the proponent of the project at 96 Main Street. So looking at my calendar, we have to hold a hearing, try to hold a hearing within 2 weeks. So we'll set Tuesday, April 30th as the date for the hearing, 6 o'clock. I'll get a hold of Matt and Sherry to make sure they can be there for that.
It sounds good. I don't think I have anything going on. So, you froze. You froze up on me.
Well.
What'd you say?
Okay. Did you get the hearing date? April 30th.
30th.
Yeah, that's on 96 Main Street. And I will send out the paperwork on the Mass Historical Form B that was done with the townscape survey. So you'll have some information on the property. And I'll send it out to Sherry and Matt also, and hopefully they can get a look at the property. Brian, do you have any other questions?
No, so I guess just in general for that meeting on April 30th, is that a time when we should come prepared to present what we're doing or what the proposed plan would be for the property?
Yes,
Okay,
that would be the time.
perfect. That's it for me.
So, yep, that's it for you. So you can take off if you want. We won't be discussing 96 Main Street any further.
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Significance. Okay.
Have a good night.
Yep. Well, Jeff, just want to quickly go over the maybe we can do some of the stuff at the after the hearing if we have time. Just to give you an update on I've got a date for our article on to appear before the council for the third meeting of the new council, which will be Deborah Ward, who set up the meeting tonight, is the council clerk, and I believe the date is for the 4th of June. So that's when they're going to be discussing a number of administrative changes to the admin code. So I will be there in person because they do not have Zoom meetings which people can communicate with the council from the council chambers. I'm told they have the equipment, but they don't have the staff. Okay. So they need somebody there. I've attended a number of hybrid meetings with the Wareham Conservation Commission over the last couple of months, and they have a member of the town IT department right there at the hearing, so he can turn on people who are there via Zoom and they can comment and so forth. But Bridgewater doesn't have that staff yet to do that. So
we don't have an IT department.
Oh yeah, we got an IT department. We have 2 full-time people in our IT department. So why it can't happen, I don't know. But I was just told by Deborah that it's a matter of staffing. But she's only the town council clerk. So I jokingly asked her, I said, well, can't you do that along with taking notes? And she said, no, I can't do that. So I didn't push it. So anyways, I'll be there on June 4th, and I'll be inviting everybody later at other successive meetings. Anybody else from the Historical Commission wants to be there. I guess there are a number of changes to the admin code, and Fred Chase is sponsoring a number of them, because I double checked on that. I don't want somebody to say, well, gee, nobody sponsored your change, so we can't do it. Well, it made it real clear that, oh, here's Sherry. Let's see, participation. Okay. She wants to come on. Participants. I'm trying to find. No, that isn't the right button. I thought it was under participants. Jeff. Deborah Ward, waiting room, Sherry. There it is, right there. Okay, got it.
So we have quorum now, right?
Yes, we do. So we can get rolling. Okay. Good evening, Sherry.
No.
I don't know how long I'm gonna last, David. I'm sick.
Okay, well, we'll get to the meat of the subject right away.
Okay.
The proponent for the demolition delay on 96 Main Street was here earlier, and we told him that we were setting the hearing date for the in 2 weeks. Jeff, what was that date? Do you remember?
April 30th.
Yes, April 30th. That's it. Okay, so in the meantime, if you get a look at 96 Main Street, I will send you out the Mass Historical Form B, which describes the property, gives you some history on it. And I've told them to come in with their proposal, whatever they're going to do with the property. Hopefully it will be, you know, in my opinion, it's a very significant house. I hope they're going to be able to show us that they've explored the alternatives and why they have to tear it down. But I told them that's what we're interested in. I just told Jeff that we schedule for the first council meeting in June for our change to the admin code. I will be there personally because they don't have hybrid meetings set up yet, because they need to have a member of the IT department there to work the computer. And for whatever reason, that isn't possible right now, although they have 2 full-time IT guys. But anyways, let's see, 180 Broad Street demo delay. The town manager, I sent the agreement to him. He responded back to me. I'll just initial it and send it back. And I said, no, I want you to write a letter to the developer confirming that you have reviewed the letter and you're in agreement with it, and CC me with a copy, and then we will release it. He said he would do that. It was 3 weeks ago. Haven't heard. See, demolition delay, hybrid meeting, town council slot, historical commission admin code, 180 demolition delay. If you recover by Thursday morning, Sherry, I'm taking a crew of people down to the foundry at 8 o'clock, purposely to see them pouring some iron. They're from the New England chapter of the Southern New England chapter of industrial archaeologists. And then we're going from there down to the Ironworks Park, and I'm going to do a little presentation on early iron working at the park. And we expect to be Foundry at 8, Perkins Foundry, and then Ironworks Park, 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then we should be done by noontime. So that's Thursday morning.
Okay,
Jeff, you're invited too. It's a small group. They're going to break it up into 2 groups and they'll be walking around the foundry again. So if you'd like to come.
Yeah,
And
that was a nice visit last time. But,
yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I've invited the lady who is our new, the lady in the historical room,
well, the
archivist.
archivist.
Yes, I've invited her to come down on Thursday to learn a little bit about Bridgewater Ironworks Park. So hopefully she'll be able to make it and gain a little insight on some of our projects, what we're all about. Anything new, Jeff, on community preservation?
couple things. Last meeting, we went over what the senior center wants to do with their community garden. They voted to hold it off until they could meet with the town attorney, because no one was really sure, like, if it was actually a community garden or not, and if CPC funds could even be used for it.
Yeah.
So that's where that's at. The Pantheon friezes, apparently the structure where they wanted to hang them isn't strong enough. And I think they were looking at a contractor to come in and see if they can strengthen the spots so it could hold them.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll defer to the architect on that one.
Yeah.
Seems like there's a lot of weak walls up there because they can't hang up the pictures, historical pictures that we've gotten donated to the town either. So, but whatever.
And then Carlton mentioned something. He said that the townhouse basement might make a good storage area, but there's possibly a water leak in there.
Well, I'm very familiar with the water leaks down in that basement, having worked for the town for 20 years and seen it both bone dry and an inch of water in there. And the problem is roof runoff from the adjoining buildings. And if they can pipe it out to the street or away from the foundation wall, at least, it can stay much drier than what it is, because they raised the floor, and historically they raised the floor in there about 18 inches many years ago. So there would be no water problems, but that's, we have three engineers in town, plus we have a full-time maintenance guy in charge of the buildings. So hopefully they'll be able to figure it out without hiring a consultant, but whatever. That does remind me, I got a phone call from Pat Driscoll, who's the chairman of the planning board, but he's also a developer in town. And he purchased and flipped the house on Summer Street. Now, this is the big, beautiful hip roof colonial located between Dean Street and Leonard Street. As you're leaving the college, heading down Summer, it's on the right-hand side. And he bought it. He has a developer who's going to develop 2 house lots on the back of the property, with the understanding the new owner had no problem with that. He'll probably be coming to us and looking for a letter of support because he has to go to the zoning board of appeals to subdivide the property. To get 2 house lots, it means that the lot line for one of the houses will be, well, the lot line, in order for the house to make the 20-foot setback from the lot line, the property line, the new property line will have to be about 10 feet behind the barn. And all parties involved seem to be in agreement, but they do have to go to the zoning board of appeals. So he will be asking us maybe for a letter of support if we think it's appropriate, if the commission
it-
decides to.
Is it historical related?
Historical related. Well, no, it doesn't require anything from the historical commission other than because the house could be like 96 Main Street. They could come in and tear it down and put 4 houses in there. But the person who's buying it wants to do a full restoration of the property and to maintain its integrity. And she wants to keep the house lot to the right of the house. There's a big open lawn, and to maintain the appearance of the house. And it'll be really nice when they're through with it. You know, I'd rather see him keep the whole lot as one, but they couldn't make the numbers work. So he did arrange for me to have a tour of the house, and I'm sure this is something that maybe we could get the whole commission in there, because it's down near original on the inside, with the exception of the kitchen. Beautiful original woodwork. It's very similar if you've been into the Estabrook and Chamberlain office, the main part of their house. The fancy woodwork, the fireplaces, the stairway, the the hallway in the front, the old plaster. It's beautiful inside, and the new owner wants to maintain that appearance. The only thing that's changing is a kitchen that was probably put in, I'm just guessing, maybe 60s or 70s. And they want to maintain, they're going to keep the big fireplace in the kitchen with all the iron work in it and everything. But the cabinets, they want to take them out and put in something more period. So I'll, when I send out the paperwork on 96 Main Street, I'll try to find the paperwork on that also, so you can see it. But the reason I thought of it is, in the barn is the sign that was once on the Bridgewater's second hardware store, not Hooper and Clark on the left-hand side where the bank parking lot is, but rather the other hardware store, which was on the site of where Lorraine Daily Park is right now. And if you see a picture of, I'll see if I can remember to send you a picture of that. But anyways, it has the sign on it. The picture I have taken about 1900. And I think it says Burrell on it at the time, but it had it was Crane, then it was Crane and Burrell, and then it was Burrell, and then eventually it was, the building was repurposed. And they built over it to put in the buildings that were torn down in the 50s. But he's got the original sign, and he says if we want it, we can have it. He'll store it in his barn for a while. So it's up to us. It would be a great place to put it would be downstairs in the townhouse building, until we have a place to properly display it. And it's in pretty decent shape. So that's something that it was kind of neat to see. And I'm sure if we get a chance to go through the house, you'll enjoy it, because it looks like something out of Sturbridge Village. It's just absolutely beautiful inside, with the woodwork, the wainscoting, the trim, the wide pine board floors, and it's in great shape. So
Nice.
And let's see. Anything else from community preservation, Jeff?
One thing I found interesting was that the old state farm trails is nearing, the planning is nearing completion. They had to redraw the trails because of the wetlands around the area, but should be close to the next phase.
Oh, great. I ran into somebody, I went to the Heron Run Festival Saturday, and I ran into somebody, I talked to 3 different groups down there, and I think this was the non-contested greenway that Kitty works with, everything. And he told me that he described that phase that they were working on, and they were saying that they were making progress with it. So that was great to hear. I did talk to somebody from Marine Fisheries, and I asked them when they were going to start working on the West Bridgewater Dam by West Bridgewater Town Park. And he said that Marine Fisheries is doing everything they can to preserve the dam, but they want to build a better fishway, take the stepped structure out that's there now and install something similar to what they did in Bridgewater with the rocks and the meandering stream through the rocks and so forth, which makes it, I guess, a lot easier for the fish to come up. So that's something. And I also asked him if he was doing anything with any of the other ponds and dams in Bridgewater. And he said, "Oh, what ponds? What dams?" So I thought that was kind of strange that these people weren't familiar. And I said, well, I think the biggest one with the biggest obstruction is Sturdivant's Pond down on South Street, because that dam is quite high, probably 6 or 8 feet above the road. I mean, above the stream on the low side. So he said they would probably look into that one someday, but right now there are no plans to do anything down there. But he said they are making great strides in inland fisheries and migration of feeder fish coming inland, helping the coastal fisheries, and it's been a very successful program.
That
all
sounds
around.
great.
Yeah. So
Can't wait to catch them.
yeah. Well, I asked him, I had heard a story about global warming and how it's changing the migration patterns of a lot of the ocean life. And he said, yes, that is true with certain larger fish, such as salmon and cod and so forth. But he said, as far as he knows, they are still coming upstream into the nip. He said the herring run, they love warm water, cold water, they love everything. And he said they're common from North Carolina all the way up into the Maritimes. So it isn't affecting the herring. Global warming, not yet. So the fish are there. Keep looking, Jeff.
I haven't been yet, but
Yeah.
soon.
Well, they should be up in the nip. Let's see. If you don't make it, I've come across, I've done a lot of research in preparation for this little talk I'm going to do down at the Ironworks. And I went to a whole bunch of people and said, okay, folks, I want to sample a bog oar. I want to show people at this thing what a piece of bog oar looks like. And I found so many people said, yep, there's a lot of it around, but we can't tell you where to find it. So I did a ton of research, and the best lead I've gotten was bog oar is nothing more than, for lack of better terms, congealed iron oxide and sand, organic matter, and so forth, clumps of this stuff. And that's what they mined. There is no mineral lump of mineral material like you'd imagine a gold nugget or a lead deposit or copper or whatever. But what it is, it's iron oxide. And iron oxide, the rusty material, in order to turn that into iron, that red powder, you put it in a furnace or furnace, and you start a wood fire at the bottom, and then you add charcoal. Now, I had always thought that charcoal was for your source of heat. It is, but it's also for the chemical reaction that takes place. I'm not a chemist. I never enjoyed chemistry in high school. Never took it in college, but the burning charcoal emits carbon dioxide. No, carbon monoxide. and the carbon monoxide combines with the iron oxide, draws the iron molecules out of the iron oxide, and it precipitates little beads of iron, elemental iron, and that drops down into the bottom of the furnace. Now, if there's a lot of sand, this furnace gets stuck in with slag and so forth. So they end up pulling a ball of this material out of the bottom of the furnace. And that's what they end up doing, is beating and compressing it and so forth into a piece of iron. So it's more of a chemical process with a lot of heat than it is just a heat process. And there are a number of YouTube videos, if you want to look at it and get more detail on it. And it shows a number of people with crude furnaces making crude iron, cast iron. And I found it just fascinating. It was very enlightening. So anyways, I ran into one guy and he says, I'll tell you where to get it. And I'm thinking, the Nip? No. Some of the ponds? No. Behind the Polish Club, down off of Spring Street, there's a brook that flows through the center of town. I've been aware of it for years. But I never went down and looked at it. He was accosted by a member of the Polish Club one night while he was frequenting the Polish Club. And the guy was pretty indignant. He said, come on, I want to show you this pollution in a river out back behind the Polish Club. So it's really not behind the Polish Club, but if you look at the Polish Club, and there's another building to the left of the Polish Club. So you just pull in and park anywhere. And then the brook is between that other building and the railroad tracks. And right now, that brook is the color of a pumpkin. The whole brook from side to side. I've never seen anything like it. I've seen it in the past, a little bits red, and there's a bacteria action that takes place, and it forms an oily sheen, which this guy from the Polish Club thought it was pollution. It was contamination. So the guy from the Board of Health, Doug Syme, he said, no. He said, let me get it tested. So we had it tested, and it is pure ferric oxide. It's the beginnings of bog iron. So it's really something to see. I'd never seen it in such a concentration. So I've got a sample of it. I'm bringing it to my presentation. I went up the Nip, and I did find everything along the shoreline is underwater, but I did find a fire pit that some kids had made with some rocks that they grabbed from the edge of the lake, and the fire had caused a couple of the rocks to fracture. And I grabbed one of them, and it's loaded with iron oxide. So I brought that along for my meeting on Thursday. So, but it still has to go through the same process. The charcoal, carbon monoxide, and the ferric oxide, the chemical reaction, iron precipitates out of that. And they continued to use charcoal until the railroad became in use in the late 1840s, early 1850s. And from there, it took a couple of years before they converted from charcoal over to coal. And the whole industrial process was experimenting with coal and the use of iron and everything. So, but it's a really interesting story if you're into that. I'm not a geologist, I'm not a chemist, but I still found it incredibly fascinating, because I always thought you took ore, you put it in a furnace, you melted it down, the iron flowed out of the bottom of it, like I used to see them do down a foundry. No, it doesn't work that way. Just an incredibly labor-intensive process that these people did back in the early 1700s. It's just amazing.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, what they went through. And they talked about making charcoal, 16 cord of wood in a pile, covered up with dirt. And the collier who made the charcoal was the highest paid man on the job, because he was responsible for turning 16 cord of wood into 16 cord of charcoal. And if you screwed up, you had 16 cord of wood ash, which was totally useless to anybody. And if you screwed up in the other way and it didn't burn, then you had to wait for the thing to cool off. You had to strip it, restack it, and start all over again. So he was the most highly skilled in the whole iron industry up until about 1850 when they switched over to coal. So let's see, how's the time going? Oh, still got plenty of time. Well, I think I'm catching Sherry's cough.
Sorry.
Unless there's something else, I got to get you that material for the meeting on the 30th on a Tuesday. That's about it. Any other new old business?
Nope.
Or old new business?
I was wondering something.
Yeah.
I recently joined the Nextdoor app, so I could keep in touch with neighbors, see what's going on. And they listed my area as Pratt Town. I was wondering what that's all about.
Pratt Paper Mill. One of the first paper mills in the country after the Revolution.
Oh.
Down in, well, it's Great Mill District was another name of it before it was Pratt Town. Pratt family had the mill there for many years, and it gave rise to there are a number of mills down there. Carver had a mill down there for a while, a sawmill, and there are a number of mills, and they used to fight over the water rights and so forth. They say there's a rock in the center of it where there were marks on the rock, and you could only withdraw water down to a certain point, and then you were shut off, and somebody else could use the water. And the first source of paper was flax. Flax was used for everything, for cloth, for linen clothing, but it was also used heavily in the paper industry. So it was one of the first paper mills in the country following the Revolution. Of course, the British prohibited it because they wanted us to buy their paper. And eventually it turned into the Jenkins Mill and making their leatherboard and cardboard products down there in the I would say they switched over to leatherboard material. Probably it was before World War II in the late 20s, but that's where the name Pratt Town comes from.
Okay, well, it's neat. My ancestors had a paper mill in Pawtucket.
Oh,
the Thayers.
Yeah. Oh. So Hollingsworth, I think, was a name also associated before Pratt. I think it might have started under Hollingsworth, and then Pratt took it over. So much. Oh, and I did see, I know I've talked to you folks about it before, the tin gravestones. I call them white bronze gravestones made out of zinc. I was riding by the China graveyard down at the intersection of High Street and Plain Street, down by Wyman's elderly mobile home community. And smack in the center of that graveyard, there is a zinc gravestone. So if you want to, it's not like you have to go out in the boonies up in West Bridgewater to find it, but there is one down there. There may be some other smaller ones. I didn't get out and walk around, but this thing has got to be 4 or 5 feet tall. You can't miss it. And you'll know it when you see it because it's a lighter gray than the granite. It's just weathered a lighter gray. So it's kind of interesting to look at. And there's no lichen growing on it. Plants don't like attaching themselves to zinc, I guess, like they do to granite and marble and so forth. And it looks just as good as the day they put it up in the late 1800s.
Neat.
So good Sunday afternoon trip. And as you take the kids up to it and you knock on it, it's hollow. It sounds like a big tin can. Kind of neat to look at. So, let's see.
Yeah, the whole Pratt Town thing had me confused, like I was in the wrong spot.
Yeah. Where did you think it was?
Cherry Street, Old Farm or Old Field.
Yeah. 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 Been Pratt Town, called Pratt Town for a long time. I'd say probably close to 100 years.
Hmm.
No. They had their own school. They had a store down at the bottom of the hill. When you came down Plymouth Street and Mill Street goes straight out past Bridgewater Farm Supply, Plymouth Street makes that hard turn to the right. There used to be a store right there. I don't remember it, but it's before my time. Probably once talked to a guy who lived up over the store, John Reville, but not many people remember it. It was just a gas station, a little general store. And of course, you had Bernie's up at the top of the hill. That was the last general store in Bridgewater.
Huh.
So, and it was just recently sold by the Bernier family, I think within the last year,
Oh,
to a new group. So, some Middle Eastern gentlemen. And I think there's the same people that own Russo's on Bedford Street.
oh, okay.
Same family. So, there is, if you know anybody who's interested, there is a group getting together. This has nothing to do with the Historical Commission, other than the outcome of this project is going to have something to do with the Historical Commission, because it has to do with the form-based code, which they're trying to put through, which will be before the town council for a vote, like the third week, the 23rd or the 24th of April, with the new council. I think it's the first meeting with the new councilors, and hopefully they're gonna put it off. There's a group of citizens who are not happy with it, and they're getting together at the Vets Club at 5:30 on Thursday night. They've met a couple times. They've invited a couple of councilors, and they want to discuss it with them. I've been to a couple of the meetings in person or via Zoom, and my feeling is the director of community and economic development has been to him, and he has mentioned that there's a component in this. They refer to it as the MBTA. You're catching her cold too?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It's the MBTA legislation, and the town is under the gun like many other communities. Probably the most vocal you may have heard of, Milton, is challenging it in court. Middleborough at first said, no way, we're not doing it. And then it was pointed out to them all of the financial disadvantages to fighting it. So Middleborough adopted the legislation. Milton and a number of other communities are going to court. And but if we accept it, and I don't remember the exact dates, but if we accept it by June 1st, then it will enable the town to get into the pool for a number of other grants. If we don't accept it, then that kind of leaves us out in the cold as far as to applying for these grants, this round of grants that's coming up for roads and a number of other things. So the Director of Community and Economic Development, Mr. Rulli, is pushing real hard. And my personal opinion is, I hope that section at the very least gets passed, because I'd hate to see Bridgewater shut out of the grant program. I'm not 100% sold on the rest of the package, but I'm open to it. But these folks are going to be discussing it. I think then they'll be contacting their counselors and trying to express their opinions for voting and so forth. So that's happening on Thursday night, 5:30 at the Vets Club. Probably in the upstairs meeting room that they allow many community groups to use for free. Or if there's enough people there, maybe they'll have it out in the hall. I don't know. So, don't forget to vote. Elections coming up this Saturday for councilors. And that's about it.
It's this Saturday? Thought it was the 27th.
Well, it could be. I voted, I took an early ballot today when I was there.
Oh.
I don't know, could be the 27th. I hope that I would hate to see that happen, because I would hate to see outgoing councilors voting on this piece of legislation, which I think is it's a pretty big piece. But in order for the town to take advantage of the grant programs, I believe it's got to be accepted before the end of April, probably before the 27th. But I'm not sure on the dates exactly. But we'll see what happens. So, so if there's nothing more, then stay close to your computers for the next 2 weeks. And I'll get you that information.
Okay.
And hopefully you'll be feeling better on the 30th, Sherry. And
I hope so.
I'll try to get, I'll try to get a hold of Matt so that he can be part of this too. Because this hearing, it's you see, it's it's a pretty significant house. I hope they've done their homework. Unfortunately, we can't stop them, but we can just strongly encourage them to do the right thing, whatever that might be. So, okay. So if there's nothing else, then do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Seconded. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Then we'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right.
And,
Thank you, David.
maybe on Thursday if you're available. I'll be there.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Night. Good night.